It's hard to imagine to make a video or DVD on best games ever played and not include any games of Mikhail Tal. This player gave all new dimension, on whole new view on a chess for 2 decades. He indicated that in chess, attack on opponent's king and sacrifices have a lot greater value and impact than any other approach to it. And a lot of players started believing it, and he had more followers maybe than anyone else in the history of the game. Well, later they figured what is the best way to play against Tal, against a player of his caliber, but we have to admit that it was one of the greatest talents in chess that ever lived. Let's look at one of the games. The game I want to see now against Hungarian Grandmaster Lajos Portisch was played in 1965, and I remember following this game when it was played, and it was a magnificent game, not necessarily cleanly won by white, not necessarily the best resistance by black, but it's clear indication of Tal's strength and his tactical abilities. E4, C6, D4, D5, actually knight F3, D5, and knight C3, D takes E, knight takes E4, bishop G4, H3, bishop takes F3, queen takes F3, knight D7, D4, knight F6, bishop D3. Position is quite simple here, and it's hard to say that white really has a big advantage. But after knight takes E4, bishop takes E4, queen takes E4, E6, white castled, black played bishop E7, and white played C3. Obviously, black cannot castle now because his queen takes H7 checkmate, so black is trying to remove white's queen from E4. Queen to H4, and now black does not want to castle because after bishop G5, king's side is little weakening. Black has to go G6 since H6 is dangerous after bishop takes H6. And if G6, black is weakening a little bit their king's side. They didn't want to do it, so before they castled, black played knight D5. Queen G4, but now black must play bishop F6. Notice that castling losing now. Castling loses now because white plays bishop H6, attacking the G7 pawn, and after bishop F6, queen E4, threatening checkmate on H7, wins the game because black is forced to play G6 and give up a rook. Well, however, in this position, well, of course, this castle was not played, and after queen G4 was played bishop F6, and white obviously played rook E1, activating position, and black played queen to B6. Now, this is an interesting move. Black restricts white's dark square bishop to be developed because B2 pawn hangs, and also black is preparing possibly castling the queen side, which makes a lot of sense. C4 and knight to B4. Now, well, c4 move looks like a blunder. Why? Because black goes knight b4, and black is attacking d3 bishop and d4 pawn. But of course, Tal anticipated knight b4 move and played in this position rook takes e6. Pawn takes e6, and queen takes e6 check. Well, in this position, black played king to f8 move. I think the best continuation was, of course, king d8. And I don't think white has anything better but give perpetual check. Queen d8 check, king e8, queen e8 check, king d8, queen d6 check, and on queen c8 is not, king c8 is not possible because of bishop f5, checkmate. So, but Portisch did not believe in the strength of the sacrifice and played king f8, which gave Tal great, that's what Tal was counting on, great opportunity. Bishop f4, threatening bishop d6 checkmate. Of course, and black's answer was normal rook d8, stopping bishop d6, and what was missed is c5 move. c5, black played knight takes d3. Now, if black played queen a5, for example, then bishop d6 or bishop c4, they are very strong here. Bishop c4 threatening queen f7 check, or maybe bishop d6 first, bishop c4, knight d5, and bishop d6. This is very powerful for white. So black's best chance after c5 to play knight takes d3, pawn takes b6, knight takes f4, queen g4, knight d5, and b takes a. It's hardly unusual, maybe even bizarre position. You don't see too many games where white has a pawn on a2 and b pawn on b2, and at the same time pass pawn on a7. This position is double-edged. Well, I think white still has a lot better chances. King e7 was played in this position. And the next move is very powerful move and not very logical and not easy to make, but it is very strong. Move is b2 to b4. Now, what's the point of this move? By playing king to e7, black has indicated that they are intending to go with the king to d6 and c7. White starts creating problems on the queen side. They want to go b4 and b5 to weaken black's king's future shelter. So b4 is the move, and black played rook a8. Now, what's the idea behind the b4 move? What white wants to do is try to, on king d6, or after rook a8, black simply lost quickly. After rook a8 was played in this position, and white played rook e1 check, and after king d6, b5. Here we see the idea behind b4 move. Now white has direct and very strong threat. Threat is b takes c, b takes c, queen e6 check, king c7, rook c1, attacking c6 pawn, and on knight e7, d5, tearing black's position apart. So, and of course Portisch saw it, so he played rook takes a7, but then shot comes from the other side. rook e6 check, forcing black king c7, and another unexpected shot. Rook takes f6, and black resigned in this position, because regardless they take with a pawn on f6 or with a knight, queen takes g7, winning black's rook and obviously winning the game. I think it's very energetically played by white game. Maybe black could have played better, but this is typical for Tal's style. For some reason, people were saying, I remember when Tal was on the peak of his career, or after analyzing it for 2 or 3 days, the game mode, here he could have lost, here his opponent could have done this and that, and how lucky he is. No, that wasn't a luck, because he was playing against humans and not computers. By creating so many problems constantly and constantly pumping more and more air into the game, a majority of his opponents couldn't stand up to him. And, well, actually by playing this style, he managed to go as far as becoming a world champion. This is the player we will always remember, and we will always cherish and always respect.